how to prepare for the LSAT. The purpose of this presentation is to provide you with valuable information that you can use towards preparing for the LSAT. We'll discuss some techniques, some preparation options, and also some facts about the LSAT. The LSAT is challenging because it requires you to use logic that is not intuitive in most individuals. So you're kind of having to think outside the box. When the people who create these exams or the test writers, they test it's based off logic, not what you think is right. So what we may think is right based on our own intuition, it may actually be wrong on the LSAT, which that is what a lot of individuals struggle with when taking the LSAT. One question you need to ask yourself when preparing for the LSAT is, why do you want to go to law school? Why is that important? This question itself is important for you as an individual because it helps create the path on where you want to go as far as pursuing a law degree. It's estimated that over 65% of individuals who take the LSAT end up having to retake the LSAT. And those changes can differentiate within their exams. If you projected a 130 on your LSAT and you retake it, then there's a 20% chance that your score will go up 10 points. But it's all based on the level of how you study for this exam. So prepping for your exam is extremely important. Once again, the LSAT is a very challenging exam to take. And law school is very competitive. So what is the LSAT? Unlike the ACT and the SAT, the LSAT is a standardized test that's offered 4 times out of the year. That's February, June, October, and December. The purpose of this test is designed to test your comprehensive reading, your logical and analytical reasoning as well. The LSAT consists of 6 sections. Out of those 6 sections, only 4 sections are scored. The other 2 sections, one is an experimental section and it's not scored, and the other one is a writing section, which law schools can look at to see what is your writing skills, what writing techniques do you use when developing an essay. And an important thing to remember is that although the LSAT is offered 4 times a year, you are only allowed to take it 3 times within a 2-year maximum. So, if you take it one time, or say you take it in June, and you don't get the score they want, you say, okay, well, I'm going to take it in October. Well, that's something that you need to take into mind when you ask yourself the first question, well, why do I want to go to law school? Because if you don't do good on the second try, then there's a high chance that, your 3rd time, if you don't do good, then you end up having to wait 2 years just to retake the LSAT exam. So we're going to talk about how to prepare for the LSAT. Once again, we'll look at some strategies or used to prepare for the LSAT, and we'll also look at some examples of what type of questions could be present in the LSAT exam. Remember, the exam consists of 6 sections total, but only 4 sections are scored. The scoring ranges between 120 as the lowest and 180 as the highest. Only 10% of the population scores a 170 or higher. The biggest enemy when taking the LSAT or when preparing for the LSAT is time. Remember, like I said in the previous slides, it consists of 6 sections, but each section is 35 minutes. And out of those 35 minutes, you can have a range between 24 to 28 questions. Now, these questions are not short-range questions. They usually consist of a large paragraph or a medium-sized paragraph, and you may have 4 to 5 questions that go along with those certain paragraphs. So it seems like you have plenty of time, but depending on the questioning and depending on your skill level and how well you prepare for the exam, you could find yourself falling behind time. And if you do find yourself in this problem or having this problem, the best thing to do is speed up. You only have 35 minutes, and unlike the SAT and the ACT, wrong answers are not counted against you in the LSAT. So it's important that if you're falling behind time in the last minute or last section, that you just guess, you just bubble in as much as you can, because there's a 20% chance that you could get that answer right, and it could actually be in your benefit. That could be a big difference between a 155 score and a 160. But the important thing is, do not panic. When you panic through your exam, you lose focus. And what you originally prepared yourself for in the LSAT could suddenly get lost in your train of thought. So remember just to stay focused. Like I said, if you don't know, guess. There is no penalty for wrong answers on the LSAT. Your score only consists of right answers. So this is where guessing becomes more in your favor. When you take the LSAT and the ACT, if you get a wrong answer, it penalizes you for that. But this is not in the case of the LSAT. And once again, like I said, there's a 20 to 25% chance that you could actually get the answer right. So we're going to look at different types of guessing techniques. Technique one is seeking hedging phrases. These are a lot of times, hedging phrases are phrases that create possibilities within your paragraph or within your answer choice. Most likely, those will be, the answer choices that have hedging phrases will be the correct answer for that passage. You never want to choose answers that are definitive. For example, the project was completely destroyed. That is a definitive answer, and it leaves no possibility. Whenever you are taking an LSAT, it's all based on possibility. So your hedging phrases like likely, will, often, most, generally, may, sometimes, those are key words that help you when preparing for the LSAT, or it helps you in the process of elimination when you are reviewing the paragraphs along with your answer choices. Second technique is slang. A lot of times in the LSAT or on the LSAT exam, writers will include slang paragraphs in your answer choices. And people or individuals sometimes struggle on these answer choices because it seems right, or it seems like it would be the logical answer, but actually it's not. It's just a bunch of jumbled words that is meant to actually confuse the reader. I have an example here. Because it was better than the other choice than the original. That is something where you call slang. It has no direction. It's not giving you a clear, concise objective as to what that answer choice is pertaining to. Now, when you look at option B, to compare the outcome of two different choices. That is direct. It also creates possibilities, because it doesn't cut off one and then give you the other answer to make it seem like that is the correct answer. It gives you the option, which is what is important. The third technique is looking for extreme statements. This is avoiding answers that have extreme or controversial meaning, which is, for example, A. They should cancel the project completely. That is what you call an extreme statement because of the word completely. It eliminates, like I said, the possibility, which is what the LSAT exam is based on. Avoid answers that, remember to check for hedge phrases, because you are trying to find the possibility within the paragraph and within your answer choice. A key word which makes B the best choice, is that the word if. If creates possibility within that sentence structure. Another section, one section, part of the LSAT is the reading comprehension section. This section is similar to what is in the SAT and the ACT. This consists of a reading paragraph that has 4 to 5 questions that go along with this paragraph. The types of questions that are addressed in the reading comprehension is to determine the author's main point. What methods are used to get the point across, and define the structure of the paragraph or the passage. Usually in your passage, the first paragraph is your main point of view and it is your summary. So that is something to pay attention to. Instead of reading the entire paragraph, it could be in your best interest to start off with the first passage and then work your way from there by reading your questions. Does anybody have any questions? No? Okay. Am I losing anybody? No. Okay, good. Also remember, if there are no keywords in your passage, then look for keywords in your answer choices. A lot of times, if it's not in the passage, then I guarantee you it's somewhere in your answer choices. But also just remember to look for the hedge phrases that create possibilities within that passage and within your answer choice. So like if, sometimes, never select answers that have exactly or except. Those type of phrases will more likely be the wrong answer. The second part of the exam consists of the analytical reasoning section. This section is based on games. That is the main objective of this section is focused on games that challenge how you analyze a problem. The purpose is to look through a lot of information and think, and you're having to think faster under pressure. That's what makes this one of the most challenging sections on the exam. About 45% of individuals who take the exam end up struggling the most on this section alone. And one way to help you with this section is to actually sketch out your word problems. So for example, if you say, James sits in front of Bob, well then you would sketch out James and then you would sketch out Bob. And then you're able to put the other people in line along, with the word problem. Remember that each problem provides you with some type of information. So you will have the information. It's just being able to organize it, look through the amount of information you have, and search for the key points. Remember, if the key points are not in the passage, they're in the answer choice. One part, or one way of dealing with the analytical reasoning section is to think of the rule breaker. This is usually an answer choice that doesn't follow along with what's in the passage. So for example, John is sitting next to Bob. Well, if you find an answer choice that doesn't have John sitting next to Bob, then more than likely that will not be the correct answer. And you can do process elimination that way by focusing on the rule breaker. The next section, which is one of the most important sections on the exam, this section counts for almost twice your grade. This is the logical reasoning section. It's extremely important that you understand how to burn the section and how to work it on the exam. I cannot stress how important it is for you to actually focus. The first two sections, they are a challenge, and they do count towards your grade as well. But this has a bigger influence on your grade. It has a bigger impact on your grade, excuse me. And the purpose of the logical section of the exam is not to determine whether the argument is correct, but is it logical? That is what is the challenge, because like I addressed in the beginning, the LSAT focuses on intuitive matters that are not consistent in everyone. Not everyone thinks the same way. So what you may think is correct, once again, it could be wrong on the LSAT. So, to better prepare for this section, you need to focus on answer choices that are direct opposite. So what goes up must come down. So that means, for example, the stocks increase, but the GOP decrease. So that would be a more suitable answer choice for this type of section on the LSAT. Another option is to answer the question, or is that your answers that ask the question, your answers address the question that it's asking. That is another suitable choice for you as well. The next one is that the answer choices that have the same keywords that are in your paragraphs. If your answer choices in your paragraph line up with your keywords if the keywords in your answer choices match up with the keywords in your paragraph, then more than likely that will be the correct answer. Like I said, guessing does not hurt you at all. And just some more test-taking tips. When preparing for the LSAT, make sure you know what type of questions and how many questions. This helps you better prepare for the exam. So if you know you're working on the comprehension or reading comprehension section first, you know it consists of 35 questions, and you know it consists of 35 minutes and you have 28 questions, then you can work in your mind, that's an average of probably 1.4 minutes per question. So that's something to keep in mind. So just in case you stumble on a question, it's okay to skip it and go on to the next one. Because remember, like I said, guessing does not hurt you at all. Another tip is to study 3 or 4 weeks before the exam date. This helps better prepare you and familiarize you with the exam, so when you do take it, you're not thrown off. Another choice is practice, 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 and eliminate your wrong answers. Pace yourself. Try not to rush yourself. Another tip is to keep with your first answer choice. Usually your first answer choice is your right answer choice, unless you have the evidence to show that your first answer choice is not right. And then lastly, check your work. Make sure that you're confident in the answers that you choose. So those are tips on how to prepare you for this exam or prepare you for the LSAT. And then I also have some references for you. Okay, well, does anybody have any questions? No? Okay.
No, but I do think that that was very interesting.
I have a question. All right, like, if you want to take the LSAT, do you have to have an undergrad? Like, do you have to have an undergrad degree, like, before it's going into law, or like, what's the qualifications to take the LSAT?
Well, anyone can take the LSAT. It's not required that you have an undergrad degree, but the LSAT is meant for you to get into law school. So in order to get in law school, you need an undergrad degree. So I guess you would say, in a sense, the LSAT doesn't require it, but if you want to get in law school, then you do need the undergrad degree. But in order to get in law school, you don't have to major in criminal justice. You can major in whatever subject it is you want, just as long as you pass the LSAT and have the GPA to qualify.
And I know like the LSAT has to do with law, and I also know that the bar has to do with law. So are there similarities with the LSAT and the bar exam, or like is one more important than the other, similar to like the SAT and the ACT getting into college?
Well, the LSAT prepares you for law school, the starting of law school, and it's basically to check to see, do you have the reasoning or the analytical skills that will be needed in law school, but the bar exam actually prepares you for the practice of law. It prepares you to, if you know the actual laws that go with your state, which in any state laws vary. So you have a difference in the types of bar exams that you can take. You can take a bar exam that can only be used in the state of Texas, or you can take a bar exam that can be used in any state. Now, I've heard that exam is a lot harder than if you were just going to take one for your state because, like I said, each state is different. So does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Did anybody else have any questions?
I did.
Okay. What's your
Interrupted, so.
Well, my other question is I forgot my first question, but roughly how much does the test cost? Well, the test itself costs $169. But if you do a late registration, it's a $30 fee on top of that. And then, no, it's a $40 fee, I'm sorry. So then you end up paying $209. So it's expensive.
So would you have to pay that every time?
Every time. Every time that you want to take the exam, it is either $169 or it's $209. So it's important to pay attention to the due dates. They also have a cutoff deadline, and they are very strict about it. There's no leeway, and if you miss the exam after you pay for it, you do not get a refund, because that money has already went out to the instructors or to the individuals who watch you while you're taking the exam. Another important thing about the LSAT is that, say if you were to take the LSAT in February, you wouldn't get your results until March. So that's important if you are waiting on a law school or you're waiting to hear from a law school. Because 9 times out of 10, a law school will not give you your answer until they receive your LSAT score. And then if they receive your LSAT score past their deadline, then more than likely you'll end up on a waiting list. So it's kind of a catch-22. So realistically, you want to take your LSAT in June so that if you don't do well, you can take it in December and you can make it in that deadline period. Yes.
So, would you have any recommendations on how to prepare yourself for the LSAT, like any materials or practice materials that you can find?
Yes. Myself personally, I have used a book called, what is it? Let me see my references. LSAT Secret Study Guide. This is really helpful. I've also used Princeton Review, and it's helpful in a sense, but this book itself literally breaks down each section, and it gives you key points to look at in each section. Now with Princeton Review, it's nice because it gives you, it's very specific, but it's long. I mean, you're going to read probably 50 pages for just one section, versus in this book, you're probably reading 20, so you're getting kind of straight to the point, which can help you. When preparing for the LSAT, it's projected that it takes 6 to 8 weeks to actually be prepared for the exam. But like I said, if you do it in 3 to 4 weeks before your exam date, because you have to think about it, 6 to 8 months, I mean, you have your personal life, work life, anything else that comes in between that. Something, you may forget something, and you're probably not going to study every day. It's probably going to be an every other day type of situation. But if you do it 3 to 4 weeks, and say you take maybe 2 to 3 hours out of your day each day, or maybe an hour out of your day each day, then it will increase your probability of being successful on the LSAT. Because remember, you can only take it 3 times out of a year within a 2-year period. So if you retake it if you retake it twice in 1 year, I mean, then you only have one more chance. Otherwise, you're going to end up having to wait 2 years. So did anybody else have any other questions? Okay, well, once again, I want to thank everybody for coming out. I hope that the information you use is valuable for you. And once again, just remember the key points. Guessing does not hurt you on this LSAT. Preparing 3 weeks to 4 weeks in advance is beneficial for you. And just remember to look at some of these techniques and guides. And also, I've also provided you with handouts that will also help you in the note-taking process. And I would like once again to thank you all for coming out.